A study in Proverbs, chapter 19. Slow to anger. Better is a poor person who walks in his integrity than one who is crooked in speech and is a fool. Desire without knowledge is not good, and whoever makes haste with his feet misses his way. When a man's folly brings his way to ruin, his heart rages against the Lord. Wealth brings many new friends, but a poor man is deserted by his friend. A false witness will not go unpunished, and he who breathes out lies will not escape. Many seek the favor of a generous man, and everyone is a friend to a man who gives gifts. A poor man's brothers hate him. How much more do his friends go far from him? He pursues them with words, but does not have them. Whoever gets sense loves his own soul. He who keeps understanding will discover good. A false witness will not go unpunished, and he who breathes out lies will perish. It is not good for a fool to live in luxury, much less for a slave to rule over princes. Good sense makes one slow to anger, and it is a glory to overlook an offense. A king's wrath is like the growling of a lion, but his favor is like dew on the grass. A foolish son is ruin to his father, and a wife's quarreling is a continual dripping of rain. House and wealth are inherited from fathers, but a prudent wife is from the Lord. Slothfulness casts into a deep sleep, and an idle person will suffer hunger. Whoever keeps the commandments keeps his life. He who despises his ways will die. Whoever is generous to the poor lends to the Lord, and he will repay him for his deed. Discipline your son, for there is hope. Do not set your heart on putting him to death. A man of great wrath will pay the penalty, for if you deliver him, you will only have to do it again. Listen to advice and accept instruction, that you may gain wisdom in the future. Many are the plans in the mind of a man, but it is the purpose of the Lord that will stand. What is desired in a man is steadfast love, and a poor man is better than a liar. The fear of the Lord leads to life, and whoever has it rests satisfied. He will not be visited by harm. The sluggard buries his hand in the dish and will not even bring it back to his mouth. Strike a scoffer, and the simple will learn prudence. Reprove a man of understanding, and he will gain knowledge. He who does violence to his father and chases away his mother is a son who brings shame and reproach. Cease to hear instruction, my son, and you will stray from the words of knowledge. A worthless witness mocks at justice, and the mouth of the wicked devours iniquity. Condemnation is ready for scoffers, and beating for the backs of fools. Our proverb for the day is verse 11. Good sense makes one slow to anger, and it is a glory to overlook an offense. The devastating effects of anger are well known and documented. Many a person can recount with shame and embarrassment their own tales of times they have let anger get the best of them, and the price they paid for such outbursts. Professionals have charted a typical episode of anger. It usually begins with a trigger. That's something that someone says or does, or really any of a host of situations that flip a switch. Then the internal reaction, those thoughts that within that begin to churn. And you can feel the tenseness in the muscles, the heart rate increase, the change in breathing that keeps building and building. And all at once, it becomes too much to hold in. And just like a dam breaking in a flood, out comes the words gushing. For some, this anger can get physical and do great harm. And tragically, we read of cases where death has resulted. What if you could just stop at the very outset of an anger episode or outburst? Well, that's what anger management courses and classes seek to do for the individual. Identify at the very beginning what those triggers are, and developing techniques to stem the tide of emotions that flood and overwhelm the senses. Solomon calls this good sense. Truly, it does make good sense not to let anger become your master. After all, in the end, you'll likely regret the things you said and did in the price you paid in lost relationships, damaged reputations, emotional, and perhaps physical pain inflicted on others. Further, Solomon says it is a glory to overlook an offense. No doubt in each of our lives we will find ourselves in situations where we hear or see or are the victims of others' harmful ways. That's the trigger. Right there, we must make our decision to let it pass us by. Have you been offended, embarrassed, humiliated, insulted, hurt? In all likelihood, yes. You won't win in a mudslinging contest. Controlling your temper and making no reply will in all likelihood make you look wiser in the sight of those who witness this. Here are some of the Proverbs that Solomon tells us about the folly of anger. In chapter 12 and verse 16, the vexation of a fool is known at once, but the prudent ignores an insult. Chapter 14 and verse 17, a man of quick temper acts foolishly, and a man of evil devices is hated. Chapter 14 and verse 29, whoever is slow to anger has great understanding, but he who has a hasty temper exalts folly. Chapter 15 and verse 18, a hot-tempered man stirs up strife, but he who is slow to anger quiets contention. Chapter 16 and verse 32, whoever is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his spirit than he who takes a city. Chapter 25 and verse 28, a man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls. Chapter 26 and verse 21, as charcoal to hot embers and wood to fire, so is a quarrelsome man for kindling strife. And finally, chapter 29 and verse 22, a man of wrath stirs up strife, and one given to anger causes much transgression. Solomon sure has a lot to say about anger and the trouble it causes, don't you think? Do you have a quick fuse when you're angered? And Lord willing, let's meet here again tomorrow.